Hi, it's Elizabeth Willits here from Investing in Women, and I'm delighted because this week I'm chatting with Samantha Lubazu, and we're going to be talking all about the Insider's Guide to Recruitment. So we're live today on Facebook and on LinkedIn. If you could let us know if you can hear us all okay, if you're logging on, give us a like or an emoji. Any problems with sound, let us know. I'm really excited. This is going to be a real action-packed live. We've got loads of questions for Samantha, and if you've got questions as we're going, just pop them in the comments and we will try and answer as many of them as we can. But we are live today chatting about the Insider's Guide to Recruitment and with HR professional Samantha Lubazu. So thank you so much for joining us, Samantha. It's brilliant to have you here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the invite.
I'm really excited. So before we start and we talk about recruitment, do you want to give people a bit of background about who you are and your background and how you were involved in recruitment?
Brilliant. So yes, my name's Samantha Lubazu. I am a career and business development strategist, and I specialise in diversity and inclusion. I'm all about women, bringing them to the top of their game and accelerating them into the highest heights in their careers. So I came from 20 years experience in HR. So my experience is the insider's tips and actually looking at it from what really happens when those doors close. So I'm really excited to be able to share with you those kind of tips, because a lot of the time you just don't really know what's happening. And I'm going to be able to give you a little bit of insight there that is never really talked about. So hopefully this will help you to kind of transform your own careers just by having these little nuggets that you can take away today and action today as well.
Good. Yeah, because I know that you send your CV, don't you, often on a portal, and you press submit, and it's like gone into a black hole. And you think, where's it gone? What's happened to it? And especially if you don't hear back, we're going to talk about that. Getting ghosted in a bit and how to deal with that. But yeah, it's going to be so useful, I think, to hear what actually happens when you press submit or send or whatever on your CV and what happens behind the scenes. So first of all, let's talk about CVs. So you've obviously seen a lot of CVs in your career, and it would be interesting to know, what makes you know, I know what it's like. You come in on Monday, you've got loads of CVs. What sort of tips and tricks you can give us on how to make a recruiter or a hiring manager or whoever sort of stop scrolling in their tracks and really take notice of a good CV?
So the first thing is to remember that your CV is your sales pitch. You cannot get this wrong. It's your kind of first chance to get yourself in front of the hiring manager. Yeah. Now, what happens is, depending on the size of the company, if it's a really big company, if you do not get this right, it won't even go to the hiring manager. They will never see it. It will start with HR. So I want to make sure that you guys get the all that you need today to really understand that you need to get past HR, then get to the hiring manager. And then once it's in front of the hiring manager, you're good to go. You're ready for your interview, because that's what's going to happen. So the first thing is, remember that your CV is your sales pitch. Your profile, so the bit that you put at the top, is got to really show who you are, but also applying it to the job specification. So if it's saying that it needs somebody who's really great at evaluation and you've not mentioned it at all in the very first line, it'll probably start to miss where it, because we only got a few seconds. I think average, it's about 3 seconds they look at your CV. So if you have not caught their attention on your kind of personal brand statement or your pitch line, whatever individuals want to call it, it's key. So look at your job spec, look at who you are, and you've got to land the two together. And you've got to pull out those really great keywords, active words as well, and put it on those first few lines. When you're talking about your actual jobs that you did, focus on the achievements. We don't want you to be lifting and dropping your own job spec without actually highlighting your achievements. And it has to be active language. Don't just say made sales, which is good, but look at actually how much sales. What did you deliver? How did you do it? So first thing I would say is achieved, which is a more of an active word, achieved 50% of sales within 3 months. So really key active words, and how you've made an impact and delivered is absolutely key. So your CV needs to, there's lots of people out there going, you can make it look pretty and nice.
Yeah.
That's great. It will definitely, you know, I will stop and go, oh, this is a nice CV. I will definitely do that. But if it's going through the system, the less frills it has, the better. So you're looking at making sure your bullet points are just normal bullet points. The system will not pick up any fancy. It will actually make it look really odd. So think about just being standard. You can change the colors, that's fine. But just think it's going to go for a system. It may not pick up everything. So, and stick with 2 pages, please. You know, they really don't have a lot of time. So really focus on keeping it concise in that time.
Yeah. And what about tailoring your CV to each application? Because I know some people would find that quite daunting. They might think it's quite time consuming. So what would you say to those individuals?
So I had a client recently who I said, look at the job spec and look at your CV. And what you need to do is really tailor it. And she was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And what jumped out on me in once on the job spec is I said, well, I've just checked it. And there was 14 times it talked about developing and development. You need to mention that key word in your CV. Where have you developed something? So looking out for those really good keywords is important, but also you can actually use some of the sentences. Don't be shy to use them verbatim and apply it to something that you've done. That's really good for the ATS, by the way, is if you use that same keyword, that even sentence, if you can, and actually apply it to something that you've done using those active words, you're going to be spot on there. So do tailor it. This is your real opportunity to shine, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would add as well, even if you apply for a role and you're not successful, your CV is often kept on file. So it's good to have lots of keywords, because it will be searched on potentially in the future for another role. And, you know, if your CV is missing any of the keywords, then you might miss out on other roles you'd be suited to. So you've got some good ideas on how to have a good CV, you know, really sell yourself, your previous experience, where you've made a difference and an impact in your previous roles, and trying to keep it quite brief at 2 pages. What makes you think, oh, when you get a CV and you think, oh, they've not done themselves justice, I wish they'd not done that, this isn't going to land well?
The first one is probably what you already know. It's a blind, I call it a blind CV, where you can tell that they've actually probably sent the same CV off to about 50 companies without much thought. And you know that because there's no tailoring of the CV at all. It doesn't mention any of the keywords. It doesn't showcase that you want to work here. Again, on that first couple of lines, which is your profile, you should mention why you're applying for that particular company and that particular role if you can. So if there's nothing like that, it's very generic. We spot it a mile away. It was spot a mile away and go, so just be aware of that. It happens so much. And also, not only that, is when it's your CV has to be clean, where it's all crammed as much information as you can into the CV. It's not really well written. It does have errors on it. That kind of shows that you've not really planned out what you want to do when you get into the business as well. Bear in mind that everything you do in your CV is your pitch. It's saying this is what I am good at. And if your CV is crammed, it doesn't showcase who you are. If it's got errors, that's basically saying that when we hire you, that's what you're going to be like. So just bear that in mind. It's showcasing who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something else I was going to ask you. I'll come back to it. So if you've sent your CV, I've written down the extra question. You've sent your CV and it's gone into a black hole, which it can feel like it has done, and you're not hearing back, and you don't know whether you've been rejected or not, whether they want to progress with you. How would you handle being ghosted?
Okay, so I'll say there's 2 different things going on. One is it's gone into a black hole, where's it gone? And then ghost is a different one. So sometimes actually your CV has gone off and there may be a structural change in the business that you know things have changed, and your CV's just sat there actually waiting for that change to proceed, so they know where they're going to bring this particular role. So it's not like they've forgotten about you, it's because something major is going on in the organization. So I wouldn't take it too, don't be too offended if something happens, like what's going on, the hiring manager, something's happened. Actually, something has actually happened, potentially. The other one is that they can just be very, very rude. I can only, and that's, I would say it's not HR that's being rude. What kind, as a HR professional, they will be pushing the hiring managers to make sure that they do their part and reach out to every single candidate. What happens is, if it's a load of people applying, they can only reach out to those who have been successful. So bear in mind, sometimes, like if you go on LinkedIn, and if you've ever seen, you can see how many people have applied. You see like there's 1,000 people applied for that particular role. The chances are they will not have time to reach out to every single person. And it's not personal, it's just resource. They don't have the time to do that. And they have to dwindle it down really quickly to the ones that they can bring forward. The other thing is, if you have been ghosted, I would say this. First of all, if you get in front of somebody, if you're actually applying for a job, what they do is they're going to do research on you. They're going to go on your LinkedIn. They're going to find out about you. There's no reason to stop you from doing the same. Not stalking. Don't stalk them, but go ahead and find out who are the hiring managers. Send a nice note as well. It's okay to reach out. They'll see that you've made that little bit of an effort. And if you get in front of them at the interview, my strongest advice to you is to stand out, is send a nice thank you note, connect with that individual. On their LinkedIn profile, you may even find something, a little nugget. For example, they may have a charity that they support, like I support Pregnant Then Screwed, for example. I volunteer. And when you connect with them at your interview, talk about, if it matters to you as well and it's your values, use that as an opportunity to connect with the hiring manager, because not one thing is they're going to remember you. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to stand out. If there's so many candidates there and they're like, which one stood out to me? The one that went out of the way to go and find out more about not just the company, the ethos, but the person that's in front of them and what matters to them too, and how that connects you. So I would give you that advice. And then if you say a thank you at the end, go, no, it was great that you do Pregnant and Screwed, blah, blah, blah. Just to remind you of my achievements, just to remind you of the key things that we spoke about. No reason why you can't say that. They are going to remember you. In my career in 20 years, those that have done that, hiring manager, even if they haven't given them the job, they've said, I can't give this person the role, but I really want to find something else for them. And as HR, we'll go out of our way to see if there's another job that aligns to what your skills are and offer it to you, even potentially without an interview, because you've already gone and done it. So this is how important it is to go and stand out. Do something above average to stand out to that hiring manager that you've not thought about. And also getting in the talent pool as well. So if the role comes up again, your name will be picked out, and it'll probably be top because you've gone and done something well above average.
Yeah, brilliant. And not everybody does send a thank you. We've had a question from Martin, which is a brilliant, brilliant question. So I'm so pleased you've asked this, Martin. He said, if your profile is the top of the CV is customized for that company that you're applying for, is it still worth sending a cover letter?
Covering letter is always a good idea. It just allows the individual to bring out who you really are. And remember, I said that they only have a few minutes. Believe it or not many people actually send a covering letter. So again, this is all about how can I stand out against others? People who just sent a CV, which it could be an amazing CV without a covering letter, they're kind of missing out that one thing that could have stood you out against other people. Remember, there could be 1,000 people applying. What did you do differently? So I would definitely say, yes, send it. And it'll be read because
it will be read. It
will be read.
It brings you to life as well, I think. The CV can sometimes be a bit flat, and actually a cover letter really humanises an application. Deborah said such good points, Samantha. She can still remember the few people who reached out to her as part of the hiring process, and she definitely went out of her way to help them. Thank you.
Yeah. And HR will do the same. If we get someone that's like this person and we can't offer them the job, but they've done all this extra work to stand out, HR will go out of their way to help that individual. So your name will be passed around to different parts of the business, and it's a really great way of standing out. Do it.
Good. So we talked a little bit about researching the company, like connecting with hiring managers on LinkedIn, sending them messages. So what would be your tips for somebody who get shortlisted for an interview? You might not have had an interview for a little while. How would you advise someone to prepare for an interview?
I would definitely say that the first thing you do is use the STAR method. And for those who don't know what that is, it's situation, task, action, and results. So what was the situation that you had? Explain it very, very briefly. The task, what did you need to do? And the action. That should be the meatier part of it. Put meat on the bones, else you're going to eat. And then the result. What was the result? What did you achieve? It's really key to showcase what you've achieved. And I even add on to that at the end, say, what did you learn and what could you have done differently? Again, these are the things that make you stand out. What did you learn and what could you have done differently? And if there's something to do with risk, tell them how you would mitigate that risk in the future. So what I did next was I put in place some extra checks to avoid this in the future. And now this is used across the whole of the organization. They're the things that stand you out. In terms of structuring your any other questions that you may also have. Do you say questions or answers? Just checking.
I'm just saying, how would you prepare, anticipate the questions that they might ask and therefore the answers that you prepare?
Yeah, so definitely STAR method, and what I also say is build up a bank of questions from over the years. Don't leave it to chance. So every time you go for an interview, I have a pack, like a book full of star examples for the last 10 years, so that you then can utilize any of those examples. Obviously, some people say don't go as far back as 10 years, but you never know in an interview, you might be stuck and you're like, well, actually, I haven't got something recent, but I can give you something that will apply to this that was a bit further back. And they don't mind that. So I say keep a stack of all your interview questions and don't let go of them, because they'll come up again in your career and you'll be like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, good. We've got some questions. I'll just finish asking you a little bit more and then we'll come to, we've got questions from Isabella and Claire. So how would you advise someone in terms of research? I think research on a company is a given. So where would you advise someone to do their research on an organisation?
Definitely go to the company website. Definitely download their company reports. I'd go to YouTube, see what they're actually posting on YouTube. That's always an interesting one, and see if the staff actually posting any good initiatives that you can talk about. Go onto LinkedIn, find out what the companies are posting. Your hiring manager, see what she's interested in and actually posting, because that will probably align with what she's been getting up to in terms of her work as well. And also you can go to Glassdoor. Glassdoor's great to find out what staff are actually saying. And again, use it as your questions as well. If there's anything on there that's like, I want to find out how they're actually tackling this particular challenge, maybe use it as an opportunity to ask that as a question.
Yeah, brilliant. Claire has said, can you use an example more than once? She's aware that you might struggle to give different examples to each question.
I wouldn't recommend using the same example unless you can say, for example, if it's an example where you can give it in a completely different angle. So one, you were talking about it being how you've shown commitment and you're focusing just on commitment, but then this time you're actually going to show how did you get results. So you completely different angle. If it's coming from the same angle, I wouldn't use it at all. I will just try and use something different.
Yeah, definitely. Showcase all your skills. And then obviously it's candidate market at the moment. It might not be a candidate market forever, but it's really important to make sure that the role is right for you too. And it's a good opportunity, an interview is a good opportunity for you to find out if the position is right for you. So what questions would you recommend that we ask the interviewer?
So I'm going back to you researching the company. It does need to align with your personal values. You know, it really does. If you know that you're into a company who's about people and more of a charitable organization, but you're going for a big global smoking tobacco company that doesn't align with you, it won't, you'll get spotted as soon as you get into the interview, and you won't feel comfortable, to be honest, because it's not aligned with who you are. So just be aware of that. But the things that I would definitely say is 3 things. Questions that you ask is about what you've researched in the company. So something that you've done in the company profile or from their company report, what have you researched about them that you want to highlight? So it's a really great way of showing that you've gone out of your way, especially if you're not been able to show that in your interview. Go, oh, well, I noticed that you're going to be going into new markets, and one of them is China. What have you done there? Can you talk? That's showing that you've done the research, and they love it. The second one is showing about yourself, which is progression. So maybe going, I'm really interested in progression in the company. What do you do to support that? It's really good to show that you got staying and sticking power. And then the final one is connection. So how can you connect with the individual who's interviewing you? As I said, without stalking, I'm going to get people going out stalking the hiring managers, but without stalking them, go on to their LinkedIn, as I mentioned, really get to know who your hiring manager is. It's okay to do that and see if there's anything that you connect with, and just have a nice little chat at the end in terms of whatever it is that you share something similar to them, whether it's a charity that you see they supported or whatever that may be. And you can link it in nicely. If it's a charity, what do you do in terms of your corporate responsibilities? I noticed that you did a recent run for cancer research. I love doing that. I did that last year. Can you tell me more about it? Can you see how I nicely linked in what the hiring manager may have already done with what the company and the corporate social responsibilities? Try to do that. And then you'll also get a person, her or him, going, oh, yeah, I did that. It's amazing. Connection is so important. Do connect with that hiring manager or the hiring managers if there's more than one.
Absolutely. And how should we finish an interview? Leave a great impression.
Always finish with connection. Like I mentioned, the last thing is connect with the individual, because by that time you've already shown them your skills, you've already shown that you've researched the company, you've already done your structured interview in the STAR method, you've done everything you can. End it by connecting and follow up by saying thank you. You can grab an email, that'd be great. So if you can slide that in and say thank you, that's it. And make sure you follow up your interview with a thank you via that method. If you've not managed to get an email, by the way, because it's not always easy to do that, you've forgotten it didn't fit into the conversation, drop a LinkedIn note. It's okay. I don't like it. It's all right.
Good. We've had a message from Agnieszka. She said for design roles, we're quite often asked to complete a task before the interview. And as an interviewer, she also requires that. Now, what is your view on asking participants to complete a task in their own time, and what will be an acceptable effort for them to put in?
I think completing a task is just showcasing what you can do when you're in the actual role. So I think if you really, really want the job, I think that it's a great opportunity to do that. I think it's your own time, but it's going to pay dividends if you get that job, really. I think one of the things I've done in the past, if they have a task, is they have to showcase that when they get to the interview. And it doesn't matter how much work they've done at home, everything is boiling down to how they land it when they get to the interview side. I've seen people go in and they're going to smash it in the interview, but then actually they flop because they're not very good at the communicating side. So you've got to remember that as well, bringing everything, all about bringing all the moving parts together to make a successful interview. Hopefully I answered that question right. If not, you can probe a bit more.
Yeah, brilliant. And then Isabella's asked a question. So I'm going to come back to that, because that then leads on to my next question. So she's asked, why do some employers not include the salary on job ads? It feels like it could waste people's time.
So I missed that.
Why do some employers not include the salary on job ads? It feels like it could waste people's time.
I absolutely agree. I think it should be very transparent, and the companies I've worked for have always been transparent with that. I've heard loads of different reasons why they say we've got competitive rates, and then later on you find out competitive with who, because it's not very competitive. So I think that personally, and from the companies I align with my values, it should be there. It should be quite clear that this is the salary.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, though, just to let you know, you can find a salary out anyway by going onto Glassdoors and going on to LinkedIn salary reviewer. So if there's always another way, if they've not actually showcased what it is.
Yeah. Someone that's worked in companies that haven't always advertised salaries, their justification, and the justification I hear from some clients that don't advertise salaries, is that they're recruiting for roles, lots of different roles at lots of different levels. So that is sometimes potentially why they're not included on ads. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there should be more salaries on adverts. And so yeah, that actually does lead on to my next question. So you've done the interview, they like you, they want to offer you, you get the call, we want to offer you, what your expectations are. So what advice would you give to us to negotiate at this point the best job offer we possibly can? Or maybe they've offered you and the salary wasn't quite what you were hoping for.
Bullseye, you've got them in the right place. So first of all, and I've had this question before, when can I negotiate the salary? Can I do it in the interview? I would really stay away from negotiating any salary in the interview or before the interview. When they've chosen you, you are in a powerful position. Don't tell them that I told you this. But you're in a powerful position. They want you in the business. So this is your opportune time to negotiate your salary. So if you've not already, by that point, you can basically say, what is the salary? And say, is there movement in that? I would definitely say, is there any movement in that?
Mm-hmm.
And you can also put in your own amount as well. So I would just tell them, this is what I'm expecting. If they've not already asked you. So in the interview, when they ask you, what is it that you would like to be paid? Bear in mind, always do a bit of research in advance of what is the market amount. What do you value yourself based on your experience, and then give a nice range so that they are aware of that. So then when you have this conversation as well, you can then go for the range that you think is suitable for your experience, and don't be shy. They'll always, if they've got the budget, they'll tell you. If they haven't, they'll go to HR, which was me, and say, this individual has asked for a bit more. Can we do it?
Yeah.
Most of the time we can. If we can't, we'll let them know, and we'll always try our best to go out of our way to do it. If they've got the budget, they'll try. They want you at that point. Don't be shy. Don't be greedy. Don't be shy.
But I think some people worry asking for more money that the job offer will get taken away from them. I don't know. I think I've had that, but I've never ever known that to happen. So.
No, I've never seen it happen. No. What I would say though is that more men are likely to give a cheeky axe and get it, and women are more likely to kind of undervalue themselves and say, "Oh, I'll just take what you've got." Yeah. And we probably had more budget. It's just that, and this is one of the things that kind of I say women to kind of be a bit more bold and just don't be afraid and just go for it, and just say, what if you are afraid, just say, is there room for negotiation here? Use that word first. They'll be honest and say yes or no, or what are you thinking, which is a yes, by the way. What are you thinking? They'll just be honest, and at that point go, well, actually, this is what I was thinking. So just be more bold, because the chances are they'll just go to HR and check.
Yeah. And there's often a little bit of money, isn't there? There's less than money in the pot.
There is, and they'll push. And if you've already been successful, the amount of money that it takes and time and resources to get to the point where you are, they don't want to go through the whole thing again. So just remember, you're in a very powerful position. Use it to your best. You won't get this chance again. No. So it's the best time to negotiate your salary is at the start. It's not a year later or 2 years later or 3 years. It's when you go in.
Yeah. Such good advice. I'm like getting chills. This is brilliant. I love this session. So then obviously there's the flip side. You've done the interview, you thought it went really well, and then you get the call that you weren't successful. how do you deal with that rejection? How do you pick yourself up again?
So the first thing I would say at the end of every interview anyway is to give yourself a pat on the back. You've got that far. Some people didn't even get their call back. Some people may have got ghosted, unfortunately. You got to the point where you did the interview, they wanted you, and they just selected, probably out of a handful, you were the last individual. So you pat yourself in the back, go through reflection and saying, what I've done well, what could I have improved? I'd say never ever put your eggs in one basket anyway. So you probably got a few going on anyway, which is fine. Go, okay, move on to the next. Reflect and breathe and go back for it. Don't ever give up. The main thing is don't ever give up. The right job, that the company that deserves you is out there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's just about fit, isn't it, really? And
Yeah.
like dating, I suppose, it's finding the right one for you. And sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes we have to kiss a lot of frogs, don't we, to get there?
I like that. Kiss a lot of frogs.
Yeah.
But the right job, I've never, in my experience, I always find that it's just that your job is out there, and it always seems to be better than the one that you thought you lost out on. It always is.
Absolutely. So I have loved this session. I think it's been absolutely brilliant. If anyone's got any more final questions for Samantha, please pop them in the comments. I think we've answered everything so far. But how can people find you, connect with you, and do you want to talk a little bit more about your business and the services you can offer if someone was interested in taking this further with you?
Absolutely. And before I do that, I just wanted to just give one more tip.
Brilliant.
Seems to be a bit of a bugbear with this being ghosted. I want to just let you actually in on a little bit of a secret, but it's not really a secret. It's actually your rights. So if you ever get an interview and you've tried everything, emailing, it's a few weeks or even months, and you've never got anything back, just to let you know that you do have a right to your information, and you can request for subject access form to actually get your feedback for your interview. They have to produce that. It's a little bit of a best kept secret, but it's in their best interest that they give you the feedback rather than you go and find it. Because if they do, they have to give you every email, every response, everything that is to do with that interview, the questions they asked you, everything. So it's in their interest to do that. So if you have no interest of ever going back to that company, I would also say put a request in. It is your right, though. Honestly, it's your rights to do that.
Brilliant.
So,
that's good advice. Really good advice. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about your business and the services you offer and how people can connect with you and find out more.
So what I do, so from having my 20 years in the banking finance industry, I've moved out now to, as I mentioned, to help accelerate the careers for women to get onto senior roles and into the boardroom. So I have a career accelerator program, which you can find at www.samanthalubazu.com, and you'll be able to find and set up a call, and we'll talk through what you can do to actually get on that career accelerator program. I do the same for women who want to go out into business and decided that they want to leave the world of work, leave the rat race, and set up on their own, like Elizabeth has and done her own thing, and like I have as a woman as well. And I help you get yourself set up and established and ready to launch. And the final thing is I go into organizations to help them with diversity and inclusion, which is to focus on how they can accelerate women better in the organization and their diverse audiences as well. So I do quite a bit. I've got a lot of many hats. Got a lot of many hats of everything I do.
Yeah, brilliant. Clara said, thank you so much for the advice. She'll be putting it into use when she gets her redundancy notice. So she's got lots of notes to use.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Good luck with finding something new.
Yeah, good luck. Oh, well, thank you so much. If I'll put the replay on LinkedIn and Facebook and also on my website. So if you missed any of it, then you can catch it afterwards. If you think this would be useful to any friends that are potentially going through redundancy or looking for work at the moment, then please do forward them the link along. It's been such a good session. Thank you, Samantha. And I'll also put all your contact details on Samantha as well. Oh, we've got just a couple more comments. Jane said, thank you so much. Really interesting. So Martin said, great stream, very insightful. he's got quite a general question. What's the key points for prep and what to look for? It's a general question, but I think being mindful of skills is helpful because I've received questions about transferable skills.
So in terms of, there was quite a few questions in there.
Yeah, so what's the key points for prep and what to look for? Is this for interview or CV, Martin?
Key points for prep.
He's received a lot of questions about transferable skills that might.
So if you transferable skills is if you're looking at moving from a different field. So then you need to look at your CV in probably a different way. So look at, remember I mentioned about achievements. Look again, using your job spec, using the things that you've done, and focus on your CV in terms of what have I achieved that can highlight that job spec. So you have to look at all your jobs that you've done in the last probably 5 years and see what can I pull out and what's transferable to this job. And you'd be surprised, there's so many. I know people that have gone from IT into HR, from law into HR. People move around all the time. Do not feel like if you're going into a new role, especially when you've got a lot of years of experience, that you can't move across into a different business area. Chances are you can. I'm hoping that in terms of that question, the prep is looking at your job spec, looking at your previous work. Hopefully I've answered that.
I remembered the question I was going to ask you earlier about skills-based CVs. Skills-based CVs as opposed to, I don't know, call them traditional CVs or chronological CVs.
I think that's really good. It's like this, if you're moving from one business area to a different one, so you want to completely change your career, that will be a really great way to do it. It just focuses in on what you've actually done, what you've delivered, and how you can transfer. So that's where it's good, especially if you people have been made redundant and decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I really feel like I want to go into nursing. I'm coming out of IT or whatever it is. It's a really great way of showcasing how you can do something completely different. And it's there. I see all the time. From a HR point of view, it happens all the time. And as long as you can demonstrate those skills, there's no reason why you can't change business area.
Yeah, brilliant. He's actually said, I think we've probably answered it. We've talked about CVs, but he said it was for interviews. But I think the advice you've given about CVs probably crosses over to preparing for an interview if you're interviewing for a different role. But if you need anything more clarifying, Martin, let us know.
Oh, I'll type it back in the comments.
Yeah. And obviously I'll put your contact details on then. If anyone's got any more questions, I'm sure you'll be happy to help. But thank you so much for everybody that has watched today. Like I said, I'll put all the replays up, so if you missed anything, you can come back to it. And thank you so much, Samantha. That was so good. The advice you've given was spot on. So thank you so much. I think it will help so many people. So thank you for your time.
Glad. I'm looking forward to everyone moving into skyrocketing their careers.
Yes, I know. I'm looking forward to seeing all the promotions. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.